Hello, this is Gray Hughes. This video today is about the Hart family. Okay, this is a family you probably heard about in the news recently that all died in a car accident when the car went over the edge off of a cliff in California, and the car ended up upside down, and 3 of the children were found. There was actually 6 children and 2 adults, 8 people apparently in the car. They haven't been able to find 3, so it's possible they're still alive, or it's possible something was done to them in another location and then this incident happened. Okay, now the media is being really careful not to say this is a anything other than a tragic accident, but my gut tells me that it's more than that. Okay, and it's not based on just my gut, it's based on information that has been given. All right, now in this image that you're seeing right here, this is Jennifer Hart and this is Sarah Hart. Now, online records show that Jennifer's 48 and Sarah is 38 or 39. Okay, the media reports that both are 38, but I was actually able to find the property on the internet that they actually lived at, and it said that she was 48, Jennifer. Okay, now it's hard to tell looking at the picture what her age is. Okay, but anyways, these 2 people are married. All right, and they adopted many children. Okay, they adopted 6 children, and let's show a picture of them. All right, now here are the children. Okay, and I went based off of news articles and what law enforcement said in a press conference. Okay, and we'll play that a little bit later. All right, now I have Sarah at 39, but I've read where she might be 38. Marcus is 19. Devonte, now you might remember Devonte. He's actually famous for a picture that was taken of him during the Ferguson protests, they call them. I call them riots, but it was a Ferguson protests, and here he is right here. Right, and this is a Portland police officer, and this image became a nationally famous picture. Okay, he is one of the children that is missing right now. Everyone that has a red label here are people that were actually found in the wreckage or near the wreckage off the cliff. Okay, so the people that are missing and or even found dead are Sarah 39, Marcus 19, Devonte 15, Jennifer 48, but to some online articles they also say she's 38. Jeremiah 14, Sierra 12, Abigail 14, and Hannah 16. Now, this image here was taken 2 years ago. Okay, it seemed like she looks a lot younger than like even 14 in this picture. So I don't know if they have these ages wrong, but this is how they're listed on every article that I've seen so far. Okay, and the officer at the press conference named them all going across, so I have the name right, but it's possible that the ages are wrong in some of these images. Okay, so let's get to the meat of the story here. This family lived in Woodland, Washington. Okay, and I actually found the location on Google, and you can see how remote they live. All right, they live on this 2-acre plot of land right here, pretty isolated from other neighbors and just people in general. It's as a kid, you'd love to live in a place like that where you can run around freely and so forth. But one of the neighbors here actually called Child Protective Services, okay, and I think it was probably this neighbor right here. It could be this one also, because there's a house right there and right here. But they called CPS because one of the children, I believe it was Devonte, went to the neighbor's house and asked them for food, and he would do it frequently. And I guess he told them that they were punished at the house by not being given food. Okay, now we're starting to get there's actually some similarities here to the Turpin case. Okay, they put out an outwardly happy face to everybody. Everybody thinks, oh, wow, such a happy little family when they're out in public. But behind the scenes, it's not happy whatsoever, okay? So I think what we have here is something similar to the Turpin case. Now, another similarity is that they were actually homeschooled, too. I think what's going on here is sometimes when there's abuse in a family, you don't want the kids going to school, okay? Because if they go to school, they might tell somebody. And that makes sense in this case because in 2011, all right, Sarah Hart, she actually was charged and got a misdemeanor abuse charge on one of the children where she beat the child, I think it was a girl, I can't remember now, but beat her over a bathtub, and when the child went to school, she had bruises on her chest and complained to the teacher, and the teacher reported it, and she got charged with that. Okay, now I guess the charges were dropped later on. The Hart family then moved away. The family that, not the immediate family, but that still lived in the town, actually was concerned, all right? And I actually have a quote here from an article. It says, but after Sarah Hart pleaded guilty in 2011 to a misdemeanor domestic violence charge involving the daughter, they then distanced themselves from friends and family who questioned their approach to parenting, he said. You can see in that similar in the Turpin case. Remember the sister of the mother? She questioned the parenting techniques, and then they move away, right? So something similar going on here. Okay, so the family who questioned their approach to parenting, he said. The children were homeschooled, and to many, the Harts' lives seemed the picture-perfect example of a modern family, okay? And see, to me, that seems like an outward projection because you have a child that was beaten in 2011 or, at least spanked so hard that she had bruises on her chest because she was laid over a bathroom tub. And now you have incidents where CPS was called by neighbors because over a long period of time, one of the children was asking for food, and multiple times a day even. Okay, now you sort of wonder, was he actually collecting food to give to some of the other kids too? So they had something to eat. Okay, that's speculative, of course. Okay, but now let's take a look at where this accident took place. Okay, now keep in mind, on March 23rd, CPS was called by the neighbor, all right? And the car was found upside down on the 26th, all right? And that call was put into dispatch, 911, at 3:40 p.m. on the 26th. So a car had pulled into the same place because it's a nice place to take pictures, look at the ocean. There's just a cliff there, okay? And they looked down and happened to see a car there. So that car, we don't know exactly when the car went over the cliff. Was it in the middle of the night? That kind of makes sense to me, like very late at night. Okay, now that would help the accident theory and also a theory of wanting to just take out your entire family and not have anybody see it as it happened. Okay. All right. So again, March 23rd, CPS was called, and shortly after CPS was there, the family packed up the van and left. Okay, now the neighbors, they were a little bit concerned, as you can see right here in this clip.
That he was asking for a lot of food.
Yeah, a lot of food.
Dana and Bruce DeKalb live next door to the Harts and say a couple of weeks ago, Devontae started sneaking over and asking for food. He told them his moms didn't feed the kids, said It was punishment. Dana said one of the girls seen in these happy family photos on Facebook had said something similar before, but she says the mothers provided an explanation and the DeKalbs believed them. Friday, Dana DeKalb couldn't take it anymore. She called Child Protective Services. When they came, the Harts didn't answer. Then, the DeKalbs say, the family packed up and left.
But the next morning when we saw that the vehicle was gone, and then Sunday morning when it still wasn't there, we figured something.
Because they never go anywhere.
Authorities don't know why the Hart family, who friends online describe as happy and loving, was in California, or why this wreck happened. But for the DeKalbs, the timeline is heartbreaking.
I was trying to help them and protect them. And this is the result.
Now we dug into the Harts.
Yeah, you gotta feel sorry for that lady there. She tried to help out, and then, over a long period of time, they kept getting food, and finally, the explanations by the parents just wasn't good enough, so they called Child Protective Service. See, this is when it's okay to call Child Protective Service. A lot of people use it to actually lash back at parents they don't like, They use it as a tool. Okay, but in this case, this is a legit report to Child Protective Services. And Child Protective Service came to this house. They left I don't know if they just left a message there or not, but they came to this house, and then a few hours later, they packed up the truck and left with apparently all the children. Okay, 3, though, are still missing, as I stated before. Okay, now let's take a look at Google Earth. All right, so there's where the family home is. They left. Now, nobody knows exactly their route at this point. I'm sure the police have a good idea and are trying to figure that out, probably based on cell tower pings, if the family, the 2 parents maybe had cell phones on. All right. So let's go to, this is the area that they were actually found. Right here. Now, I actually found the exact location of where the car was located. But let's get an idea of how many miles they traveled here. All right. So, okay, so up in there. All right, I'm going to just do a little measurement here. So approximately 435 miles. Okay. Now, we don't know, did they drive further down and then come back to go over this cliff? But look at the location of this cliff. To me, it seems more likely to be intentional than not. Okay, I could be wrong, but I think it looks intentional. Now, if you look at Google Earth right here, look where it went off the edge. Went off right there. Okay, how would you get there? So if you were driving this direction, you'd have to turn and go that way. If you're going this direction, it's just a straightaway. So why would you then go over here and go off that edge right there? Now, I actually found the exact location of the car, and you can see I have these labels here because I'm marking the locations that I found on Google Earth that actually match the location on an image that I have. All right, so let me get this image open, and that's going to be, I think it's just trying to find it here. Right here. Okay, so as you can see, look how there's these clumps of rocks. Those are still on Google Earth, because rocks take thousands, millions of years to erode away. So you've got like these 3 rocks right there, and then 1, 2, 3, and those ones right there. And I actually can find those. Okay, so let me put those just off to the side. I think you can still see them all right here. All right, so you have 1, 2, and then the water's a little bit higher during this Google Earth image, right? So this rock here is a little bit underwater, but you got this one, and that one, right? And then if you go a little bit further down, you have these 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then just over there, there's another rock in this area that's actually a little bit covered with water because, like I said, the water is higher in this image right here. Okay, and then you can also tell that this location is correct just based on the rest of these rocks. You see how they kind of, there's a bunch of them, the shape right there, and then the car was found right there. All right, so I'm thinking that, so you got 1, 2, and then there's some ones that were covered with water right there, and then a little bit further. So the car is about right there, right? And that actually works because there's actually an image out there that shows this same rock in the background and the tracks of the car as it went off the edge of this cliff. All right? So let's take a look at that image. Right here. So you see that rock in the ocean back there? Might be small on your screen there, but you can see it. And here are the tire tracks as it went off. It almost looks to me like the car was still, then they gunned it and it went off. Yeah, I don't know, but you see these piles right here, and then these are supposedly tracks that led right over the cliff. Now you can see that there's a rock formation there and there's a rock formation way over there. All right, and you can see that there's some bushes right there and just the general look of it. And let's go look at Google Earth here again. And what we can do here, though, is put Street View on. The rocks that we were just seeing, though, are these two right here. So this one and over the left are those. Okay, so let's just prove that real quick. So these rocks right here, you got 1, 2, and then this rock right there. So when it went off, it went over that side with the rock just off to the right there, okay? And so it would be about like this, right? And these are the other rocks right there. Okay, so let's take a look at Street View. All right, so I'll drag the little character over here into the scene. And now we can take a look at what this would be like. All right, so in the sun there is actually that other rock that's out in the water. You can't even see the other ones because of the angle this is shot at. You can't see the rocks that are there or the ones that are right over there. All right. If you take a look at the other image, you can. It's a little bit closer to the edge, so you can make out this rock and this rock. I guess it's possible then that, you know, this rock right here is the one that you see, but it doesn't seem like it. That's a little bit bigger and off to the right. This is the rock that I'm seeing in this image right here. And that one's farther away. So let's see, you got this one. If they're at the same level-ish on the horizon, let's see. So if you're about like this. So that seems to make more sense, I guess. If you're like looking at it from this angle, let's see. Yeah, those are about the same level on the horizon. All right, so let's look at Street View and get a feel. All right, so we have that. Now I think these are where the bushes were, right here on the left, because it seems like there's more like a continuation of the bushes, kind of like you see in the image, like right there. And then it gets kind of sparse. All right. Now the only problem is the Street View here is, let's see how many years old it is. Street View is 2017, so actually it's not that long ago. So if I was going to look at Street View, yeah, it kind of looks like it's right in this area right here. All right, and I'm going to go back to Street View, and I'm going to zoom back out to Google Earth. And as you can see, that same position, if you went straight off, the car's down there, and we already showed that that is where the car was located. So you have to sort of picture how a driver could actually do that accidentally. All right, so you're going this way, you're driving, and then somehow you pull off and you go over that cliff right there. How does that happen? All right, and then you're driving this direction. Obviously, that last one was on the wrong side, but they don't have two directions. So you're going this direction, and you just turn and fly off that cliff. Now, how could that not be intentional at that point? All right, now I guess it's possible they pulled up to look at the sunset, thought they were in reverse and gunned it, and flew off the cliff. I don't know. But I think when you add in the fact that CPS was on their trail and they knew that if CPS got a hold of the kids, this is my theory right here, that if CPS got a hold of the kids and had them isolated and could ask them questions, that that the game would be over for these parents. The abuse and so forth would all come out, and the life that they were portraying to all the people of being these wonderful people, helping animals and, people and doing all these things, turned out to be a fraud. So what they did was they killed their entire family. That's just my speculation, okay? So that's not something that's factual. That's what I'm thinking at this point, given the limited information that we have. Now, it could all turn out to be an accident, all right? But it seems highly unlikely that somebody would drive in here and then go off that cliff. The police also said there was no braking going on. Now, when you look at that picture again, it's weird because I'm not sure if these clumps here are associated, but it almost appears like the car was sitting here and then gunned it and flew off, almost like the Thelma and Louise movie, right? And, you have two women driving the car, 48, 38, married, and they had their seatbelts on, and none of the kids did. So why, if they cared so much about their kids, why don't they make them put on seatbelts? All right, so there's something not quite right here. So they have their seatbelts on, they fly off this cliff. 5 bodies have been found, 3 are still missing. Hopefully the other 3 will be found alive, but you would think if they were alive somewhere, somebody already would have come forward. Okay, now, if they can't find them in the water, it's possible, this is hypothetical, that they killed them somewhere else and made it seem like, oh yeah, they're going to stay with these friends for a while, to the other kids, then drove these kids up and flew off a cliff with them and killed them all. All right, so that's another, I know that's a speculative theory, but if they're not finding the bodies in the water or, any other items, then that seems like a possibility, okay? Because nobody's come forward yet saying, hey, we have them right here. All right, so it seems like it could have been something that they convinced the kids, oh, they're going to stay here, and then they went and perhaps kept driving south or north. But the thing is, it doesn't matter what direction you're heading. When you look at Google Earth here, to go off the edge right there, you'd have to almost try to do that, okay? Now, I guess if they were looking at the sunset, thought it was in reverse and gunned it to back up and went off, then that's a possibility, okay? And I guess that's something that nobody would ever know what was in the mind, okay? And so this is going to be one of those things that's hard to prove unless there's some evidence that the police are finding at the house. Okay, now I actually have a clip of the sheriff department pulling into with, it looks like a forensic type truck to, analyze the home, okay? I don't know what else you call those vehicles, but let's play it. Here we go. Okay, so obviously at this point, the police are really interested in looking into evidence that's at the house of any of the abuse or any evidence of all of there being a motive. Okay, it's possible that they were smart enough to hide all those kinds of tracks, but police are very good at finding information, even if you think you deleted it. Okay? So that's kind of where we're at now on this case. It's really, to me, it's disturbing. Okay? I am very suspicious that this is an intentional act to kill these children so that they would not speak to law enforcement, and ruining the reputations of these parents who have been hiding the truth. Okay? I've seen other videos out there where people say, oh, they were so wonderful. I mean, it was just, oh, they're, you know, and maybe it's true in a sense, but we already know for fact that one of the parents, you know, beat a child so badly that they had bruises on their chest. You know, whether you call it spanking or however you want to call it. She even admitted that she let her anger get control of herself. Okay, then you have Devontae going over to the neighbor's house and getting food for everyone, as you heard in that clip. All the kids weren't getting to eat very much. Okay, so if they look like they're fed well, it might be because Devontae is a hero yet again. All right? So that's where we're at, and I guess until next time, well, let me say this. I'll keep you updated. If there's any updates that clear the parents or anything like that, I will be more than happy to put that out there. Okay, but I'm going to have to see some really good evidence that this wasn't intentional based on this location. I see no way that somebody driving could just, veer off accidentally and fly straight off at a perpendicular angle to the freeway. Okay, and I bet you this happened in the middle of the night, you know, maybe 3:30 in the morning type thing, and went right off the cliff right there. Okay, and I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see how that could be. It seems like it would be too coincidental that you're being reported to CPS, you leave the house, you hardly ever leave the house, according to the neighbors, and now your whole family is dead off the edge of a cliff. And yep, it sounds a lot like the Turpins to me with a Thelma and Louise ending. All right, so until next time, be safe.